So this past weekend, I had the honor and privilege of earning and receiving my third degree BJJ black belt. Man, I can't believe it's been over 10 years since I got my black belt. So if you're unfamiliar with the Jiu-Jitsu community, the Jiu-Jitsu world, and the belting system, attaining your Jiu-Jitsu black belt is one of the hardest things you can do in your lifetime. If this is if this is a journey that you decide to take, uh, it took me 10 years to get my black belt, which is like I could probably become a doctor. Like the commitment, right? The amount of time it takes and the commitment to the continuity of the training process, which is something I want to talk about today. And so how the belting system works is, you start with white belt, and then jiu-jitsu is very simple. There's only 4 belt progressions, right? So you go from white to blue, blue to purple, purple to brown, brown to black. And my journey took me 10 years. Everybody's journey is a little different. I mean, I've seen people go, some of the elite get their black belt in less than 5 years. We've seen people that take 7 years. We've seen people that takes 10 years. Some people it takes longer. It just really depends on your journey. Your journey is your journey, right? There's not a time frame of when to expect your jiu-jitsu black belt. You show up, you commit to the continuity of the training process, and eventually you'll get there. And so, I started jiu-jitsu around 2000, going into 2001. And I got my blue belt around 2002. I believe it was May 2002. I was training for about a year and a half, going on 2 years. And then from blue to purple, I was a blue belt for 3 years. I got my purple belt this summer, I believe, of 2005. And then the purple belt was my longest journey. My purple belt, it took me 4 years. I was a purple belt for 4 years. I didn't get my brown belt until April of 2009. So I was a purple belt for about 4 years. And then I was a brown belt for a short period of time, which is pretty common. You see most people go from brown to black pretty quick. So I got my brown belt in 2009, and then I got my black belt August 2011. And then from there, once you get your black belt, the progression on the degrees takes time, takes a lot of time. Again, I like to think of it as the jiu-jitsu world is really challenging you to stay committed to the continuity of the training process, right? Continuing the training process. And so your first degree on your black belt, you're eligible 3 years after attaining your black belt. The second degree, 3 years after that, or 6 years after attaining your black belt. And then your third degree is 3 years after the second degree, or 9 years after attaining your black belt. I was never officially awarded my first degree. There wasn't anybody that could promote me at that time. And eventually my coach and one of my friends, Aurelio Gallegos, who runs a school down here in Corpus Christi, he awarded me my first and second degree kind of like back to back because it was time. I was over 6 years in, and I was eligible for both, so I got both at the same time. But this past weekend, I had the honor of getting my third degree, which I was like almost a year and a half past due. But again, there's no time frame on this. And so anywho, I got my third degree this past weekend. And as I look back, on all the years of training jiu-jitsu, of all the years of strength training, I have had the privilege of I now have the privilege of looking at strength training through jiu-jitsu eyes and looking at jiu-jitsu through strength training eyes. And I'll get more into what I mean by that in another episode. But I've been able to, have a good perspective on, from both sides of the coin. And so again, looking back after all these years, I realized I could never have gotten to this point in jiu-jitsu. I could never have gotten to the point to where I eventually attained my black belt without staying committed to the continuity of the training process, right? So think about it like this. How do you get better at jiu-jitsu and eventually attain your black belt? You have to train jiu-jitsu, right? Pretty simple. Not a trick question. You have to train jiu-jitsu. You don't get better at jiu-jitsu, nor will you ever attain a black belt in jiu-jitsu by switching sports every day, right? Quote unquote, I'm making air quotes again, variety. A lot of people like variety, and people make cases for people need variety. Well, and I mentioned in the last episode, variety, I mean, if you just think about it, variety is just a distraction from the work that's in front of you. That's essentially what it really is. So, it's one of the primary reasons that I switched my focus to training the deadlift only, right? Without assistance exercises. And when I say assistance exercises, I'm talking about like targeting specific muscle groups. Like I don't have time for that. I'm looking for the minimum effective dose to building my deadlift back to where it was. From time to time, I'll warm up with like some bent over rows just to kind of light up my lats, but it's like a warm up. I'm not planning this. I'm not spending a whole lot of time on these type of exercises. So it was one of the primary reasons I switched my focus to train the deadlift only. And today's day 3 of 30 days of deadlifting. And I'll tell you what, man, I'm feeling it. We trained really hard on Sunday. Got my third degree. Trained really hard on Sunday. I was feeling a little banged up. To recover, so on this day to recover, I'm not going to say I did 4 training sessions, but I did, I guess, let's say 4 activities. So I had jiu-jitsu, trained for about an hour. Then after that, to recover, I had deadlifts today, right? So I knew it was day 3. I knew I was going to have to hit the barbell. And I ended up getting in jiu-jitsu first. Now, without going into too much detail, like jiu-jitsu in and of itself is very glycolytic, right? There's a lot of muscle burn that kind of comes along with the sport. And so you generally don't want to train like your strength or power movements after like a glycolytic session if you're training them on the same day. And so knowing that, I was like, man, you know what? I ended up doing jiu-jitsu first, and now I'm going to have to do deadlifts. And in my experience, through trial and error, I don't do very well trying to lift after jiu-jitsu. If I have jiu-jitsu and lifting scheduled on the same day, I always try to get them, try to get my strength training work in, any kettlebell ballistic work or any kind of lifting, try to get it done before jiu-jitsu, because after jiu-jitsu, I've got nothing left. If you've done jiu-jitsu, you know what I'm talking about. And so there's a whole lot of science on this. We go more into depth of this kind of stuff in our programming. But today, I just kind of wasn't feeling it, It would have been easy for me to switch course direction because I was a little beat up, right? Again, air quotes, to do something else. Variety, just because I wasn't feeling it, right? And, hard times are going to happen, whether it's in training, in life, right? But if you refuse, like, hard times will make you better, right? So even though I had jiu-jitsu for an hour, after that to recover, so my whole point was to recover from that. I took a long walk because I had to get my walk in earlier in the day. So I took about it was about a 4-mile walk to try to recover, to try to loosen my body back up, because after that I was going to hit the deadlift. And I believe today's day 3. So the way that I'm kind of experimenting with the volume, so I'm having to be very strategic with how I do this, right? To deadlift every single day for 30 days. So kind of how I've been planning this out, I'm keeping a very in-depth log of what I'm doing. So I'm using day 1. Here's how I'm doing it. So I'm using day 1 as like a heavy day. And when I say heavy in relation to the volume, not so much the weight. And so what I'm doing is I'm just basically auto regulation, right? Setting a timer Well, I'm actually doing a roll of the dice. I'll get more into what that is and what that means. So roll of the dice sounds like chance, but in a way it is. But there's some method to the madness. So I on the roll of the dice, I was scheduled for 20-minute sessions, and that's kind of what I've been doing for days 1, 2, and 3. So 20-minute sessions, and day 1 is heavy day. And then from there, I figure out what my volume is going to be. So that if you notice, these first few days, I've been doing ladders of 3, 4, 7 ladders, 3, 4, 7 ladders. And so I believe the first day, I've got my notes here. My first day, I ended up doing 35, I believe it was, 35 total repetitions, right? I did 3, 4, 7 2 times, and then I did 2 more rungs of 3, 4, for a total of 35 total repetitions. Day 2, what I did was I did 50% of day 1's volume, which would be around 17 lifts. And so today, I had scheduled 28 lifts. So I'm doing 80% of day 1's volume. So that's kind of how I'm varying and waiving the load, okay? And so I knew I was going to have quite a bit of volume today, 28 lifts. I'm, kind of feeling a little bit beat up a little bit. But, again, it would have been easy to switch, to change, right? Like, well, let me do something else. But again, hard times will make you better, right? As long as you refuse to not let them make you bitter. See what I did there? So, whether you decide to succeed or, fail in this journey of life, in your journey to getting stronger, becoming a better man, husband, and father, stay committed to that journey. Stay committed to the continuity of the training process, right? Don't just hop around jumping from one shiny object to the next just because maybe you got bored, right? I think I mentioned this yesterday. There is power in the focus, right? There is power in the focus, and one exercise, if you can, all you gotta do is stay focused on one exercise, right? And then if it's something that's important, this is another reason why I'm doing this 30 days of deadlifting is, if I know several people have said this, I'm not sure who's credited with it, but if something is important, you do it every day, right? If something's important, you do it every day. And picking up things off the floor is a pretty dang important task, right? So it's a good idea to get strong picking things up off the ground without worrying about throwing your back out or anything like that, right? So again, whether you succeed, or fail at reaching your destination, whether that's, for me, my goal is 320 kilos on the deadlift, raw, no straps, not doing all kinds of assistance exercises, whether I get there or not, it's the journey that makes you better, right? It's the journey that's going to make me better. And that's a big reason why I chose the deadlift, because the deadlift it's the king of the lifts, right? It's the hardest, it's the simplest exercise to do, right? Pick it up, put it down. But there's so much involved in it. There's a lot of psychology behind it. And that's something I was curious about, is how challenging is this going to be for me mentally than physically? What am I going to do when I'm feeling beat up? Because I'll tell you what, man, on this day, I also had, so the third session that I had scheduled, I've mentioned several times, I'm testing out a swing protocol called Path to Sinister. And I'm on week 14, I believe, 13 or 14 of 16. And the volume is peaking. I'm in a glycolytic peak part of the program. And I had sets of 10 on the minute, one-hand swings, for 32 total sets. That's 321 arm swings. And my hands here on this third day were just beat to hell, man. My hands were beat to hell. I was I was intimidated with the bell that I was going to have to swing just because I didn't know how my hands were going to hold up. And I ended up doing it. I ended up getting it all done. I could have easily passed on it. But again, I look back at all the years of jiu-jitsu, everything that jiu-jitsu's taught me to this point, everything I've learned from the barbell, and just staying consistent and staying committed to that continuity of the training process. And, again, kind of beating a dead horse here, but whether you succeed or fail at reaching your destination, whatever that is, if it's losing weight, if that's attaining your black belt, if that's building a deadlift, in my case here, doesn't matter if you fail or succeed. What matters is the journey. Because during that journey, you're going to become a better man, a better husband, a better father, right? Because you're going to learn so many things along the way, right? There's so many parallels in life with the barbell, right? I mentioned yesterday's episode how the barbell it's so unique because, like, you're either gonna pick up the weight or you're not, right? I mentioned a conversation I had with Jason Marshall, and it's like that's the unique thing that the barbell has, the deadlift has over like a bench press and a squat, is you can't manipulate it. You're gonna pick it up or you're not gonna pick it up, right? And no matter what day you come back, that weight's still sitting there. Doesn't matter if you lifted it the day before or a year before, it's still sitting there. And you're going to have to navigate that task, and you're going to have to try to pick it up again. And just like life, it doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care if you had a bad day. It doesn't care if you had a good day. You're either going to pick it up or you're not going to pick it up, right? And same thing with jiu-jitsu, man. Just so many parallels from the mat, whether the mat is the weightlifting mat platform or hitting jiu-jitsu is, with jiu-jitsu, just so many great lessons. Like jiu-jitsu, you have, you have a human brain, you have a human being that's very efficient, trying to strangle you, right? Trying to strangle you. You're trying to move your body weight. You're trying to move this person's body weight. You're trying to solve that problem. The problem that this other human person that's an intelligent being that's presenting to you. And you're trying to solve this problem, and you can't turn your back and run from the problem, right? You can't turn your back and run from the problem. You got to figure it out in the heat of the moment. And that's life, right? That's life. You because if you turn, metaphorically on the mat, if you turn your back, actually, literally on the mat, if you turn your back, you're going to get your back taken, you're going to get choked out. Metaphorically to life, same thing. You can't turn and run from your problems. You can, right? You can try to run from your problems, but it's just going to follow you, right? You're never going to really get away from it. You got to face it. And that's what I love about the barbell, man. That's what I love about the deadlift. That's what I love about hitting the kettlebells. Is it's just you and the bells, you and the barbell. It doesn't care how you feel. Doesn't care if you had a good day, if you had a bad day. It doesn't care if you lifted it the day before, the year before. For me, the barbell does not care that I pulled 290 kilos, back in at the end of mid 2013. 2018. It doesn't care that I did it once. If I want to face that bull, and if I want to do it again, I gotta face it, and then I gotta do it again. Right? So that's pretty much it, man. I encourage you to stay committed to whatever goal it is that you're after. Stay committed to the continuity of the training process. Don't switch, exercises or workout routines just for the sake of variety because the training session got hard, or because, you're not feeling it, or you're feeling tired, you're feeling beat up. Like, don't don't switch just for that reason. Okay? Stay committed to it. You know, if you need to make adjustments, make adjustments. And when I say make adjustments, you know, and that's actually what I did on my 4th training session today. Like I had 32 sets of swings scheduled at on the minute, right? So basically 328 swings with a 44 kilo bell, and my hands were just beat to hell. My body was beat up. And what I did was I still did the one arm swing, but I just dropped the weight, right? I didn't change exercises. I didn't change programs. I left the volume as it was. I dropped down to a 40 kilo, and but I still got it done. And I tell you what, the next day, man, I was feeling it. My hamstrings, everything was just crazy sore. But my whole point here is just stay committed to it. If you need to make an adjustment, if you need to pivot, if you need to drop the weight a little bit, do that, right? But get the work in. Get the work in. Still get the volume in. That's what I did. I just dropped down to a 40 kilo bell, and then after that, I stayed committed, and I got the volume in, got it done. So I can look myself in the mirror and know that, you know what, I did it. I stayed consistent to it, right? So that's pretty much it, man. That's all I got. I'm just kind of rambling now, wrapping everything up here. Appreciate you watching so far. Like I've mentioned in the previous videos, if you're new to the deadlift, if you're new to strength training, we got a free gift. I recommend in the description area, I will drop a link to our deadlift blueprint ebook. Check it out. It'll definitely get you to where you need to be on learning the deadlift. Basically, what it is it's a handful of proven principle-based progressions on how to take your deadlift to the next level, right? Without training like a power lifter, right? So if you're new to the deadlift, you're not making progress, things just don't seem right. You got to get good at deadlifting. You can't just keep ramping up the volume. You can't just keep ramping up the intensity. You've really got to get your skill dialed in, and that's what the deadlift blueprint is all about. All right, so that's pretty much it, man. That's all I got, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.